Fantastic. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Good to see everyone joining in. Fantastic, fantastic. You are at the right place. We're going to be running an amazing workshop all around getting clear on your creative offerings. Now, just as we gather, can everyone pop in the chat where you are in the world and what you do creatively, right? Where are you right now and what you do creatively? So just popping that in the chat. We love to be able to have lots of active chat happening during the workshop. If you've just joined us, where are you in the world and what do you do creatively? You'll notice that you are on mute, but we love it if you can have your video on. We love to be able to see you where possible as well. If you're eating lunch or something, that's totally fine, but otherwise, try and have your video on. We'd love to be able to engage. I love that, seeing where everyone is. Now, those of you that don't know me may be a bit confused by my funny accent. I am from New Zealand originally, but I'm based in Richmond, Virginia, in the US. And I'm actually in North Carolina at the moment doing Thanksgiving with my partner's family, which is fun too. So, loving seeing where everyone is. I'm sure there's a few people that are already away from their homes. So those of you that are celebrating Thanksgiving, just looking in here. Amazing. Kate in Asheville. Nice. I love that. Awesome. Hey, Molly, Dallas. Nice. Upstate New York. August, graphic designer, illustrator. Washington, D.C. area, graphic designer, Liz. Amazing. Mike, Santa Monica, commercial director, animator, illustrator. This is awesome. I'm just loving seeing where everyone is from. If you've just joined us, pop in the chat. Where are you in the world and what do you do creatively? Amazing. Okay, we've got lots to cover, so we are going to dig in. We're going to start off with some introductions so you know who is all here for this awesome workshop. Molly, do you want to kick us off with your introduction?
Absolutely. Thank you, Logan. Hi, everyone. I am super excited to talk to you all today. My name is Molly Russell. I'm an independent brand designer and illustrator based in Missoula, Montana. I specialize in brand development, visual systems, environmental design, physical design, and typically try to lean into illustration as much as possible within all of those realms. My background's in design. I spent about 10 years working in-house and in creative agencies and ad agencies. When I met Logan, I was working for myself full time, or I mean, I was working at an ad agency full time. And I'd been feeling a strong desire to work for myself and have more autonomy in my creative practice. So after I started working with Logan about 2 months in, I had my foundation, I had clarity on my offerings, my target markets, and I was starting to feel a lot of tension between my day job and some opportunities that were coming up. So about 2 months into working with Logan, I quit my day job and I have not looked back since. February will mark 1 year of working for myself full time. And since then, I've had several five-figure revenue months, which has been super exciting. And yeah, it's going great. So I'm really excited to be here to talk to you all today. And yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Molly. What an awesome journey, and super excited about digging in more to some of these different things you've been growing and learning and all those good things as well. Ryan, over to you.
Hey everyone, Ryan Lanigan coming to you from the rolling hills of Kentucky, out where we barely have internet, but hopefully it holds up. Been in the creative industry and marketing, both as a graphic designer, illustrator, web developer, kind of wore lots of hats, been a marketing director, both worked in-house and out of house over the past 20 years. So kind of been at this for a long time and saw lots of been exposed to a lot of different media and had to learn lots of wonderful things. And most recently, kind of moved out on my own a couple of years ago and really focusing on my business and RL design and serving clients that way. And kind of, I like to call it building my own castle rather than somebody else's. So focusing on building that castle and something that I can hopefully eventually pass on to the younger creatives I have coming up behind me. I have a couple of sons that are both going into creative fields, so hopefully I'll get an opportunity to work with them and maybe have something to hand down to them eventually. So some lofty goals. So yeah, excited to introduce Logan Elliott, a flammable entrepreneur, where he helps visual creatives from a variety of walks to grow their dream businesses. I was fortunate to partner with Logan and his coaching team early in 2025 to distill and define my creative business in practical terms, allowed me to clarify what I offer and who I offer it to. During the course of the engagement, my business became more efficient and focused. The end result was nearly triple the monthly revenue from when I started the year. So a big change for me and much welcome. My business has been a testament to the value of taking a step back to make sure everything is clear, whether you've been at it 20 years or 2 years. And I know you'll find value in the insights that are going to be shared today. So without further ado, here is Logan Elliott.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Ryan. It is amazing to be here. I was just seeing everyone sharing in the chat where you are, what you do creatively. Absolutely love it. So as I mentioned earlier on, I am based in Richmond, Virginia, even though I'm from New Zealand originally. So I'm based in the US. And yeah, as Ryan shared, like we mainly work with people who are firstly mostly in the US and Canada, but people who are visual creatives, right? So if you're someone that's like, hey, I'm trying to get going, I'm trying to get started, or you've been doing this for a while and you want to grow, you want to expand, you want to do things more effectively, then you're at the right workshop because we're going to be focusing on all of those things today. Our clients tend to fall into illustrators, graphic designers, muralists, surface pattern designers, very much in these visual spaces as well. So we're going to be running an amazing workshop all around creative offerings and really helping you to figure out what to focus your energy on. If you're getting started, great. Okay, where does that creative energy go? Or if you've been doing this for a long time, fantastic. What can we diversify into? What can change within this as well? I do also have a bunch of my team here today as well. We've got Celeste and Nadine in the background supporting there too, which I appreciate. And then we have Alyssa here, one of the coaches from my team as well. Alyssa, we'll get you to do a bit of an introduction as well, because then we'll be able to share a bit more about what we're doing towards the end of the call. So Alyssa, over to you for a quick intro.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Alyssa Harmon, and I am the program manager and one of the business point coaches on the team here at Flammable Entrepreneur. I work really closely with Logan and the rest of our team. And it's so great to see all of you. Thank you so much for being here for Thanksgiving week. I'm based in Tampa, Florida, though I've had the pleasure of living and working all around the country. My background is in higher education, and I received a master's in higher education as well as a doctor of education in educational leadership. So I specialize in working with adult learners, and I truly value building strong relationships with our clients. So that's it for me. I'll pass it back to Logan. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Alyssa. All right, let's dig in. Towards the end, we are actually going to be sharing some freebie calls. So some of you will get an opportunity to chat with Alyssa and Nadine and also Paul on the team as well. So do stick around for that. Now we're going to dig into what we're talking about today, offerings. This is such a powerful topic. First of all, you're here to learn, which I love. So congratulations for showing up. The difference we really notice between people who are struggling to make their business work and the people that are successful is that the successful ones take action, right? They show up. And even showing up today, I'm sure everyone's really busy. Those of you in the US, some of you will be traveling, busy with Thanksgiving. You're still here. I love that. That is fantastic. Really showing up for your own growth and learning is a really important part of growing a long-term sustainable business. One of our passions is really to get beyond just the ideas, the concepts, the theories, right? And more into the actions. It's a big part of what we actually focus on. And the coaching programs too, a ton of support and accountability. So as we go through things today, I want you to engage in the chat, have your video on, take notes, right? Let's keep things really actionable today as well. You'll notice that the chat will be quite busy today. And part of that is because of what I'm about to share is that we are going to give away $100 cash to the person who is the most interactive today. That means video on and getting into the chat. So we're going to have some fun with it. That should be good. And yeah, we'll send across electronically that $100. It's a bit of fun that we like to do when we can. It keeps people engaged as well, which is always what we're here for as well. Love it. If you have just arrived, make sure you do pop in the chat where you are in the world, what you do creatively. And yes, you are here at the right place for the Creative Offerings Workshop. So this is a really interesting topic because ultimately at Flammable, myself, my team, we get to work with so many people and talk to a lot more. So we get to see what works and also what doesn't work when people are growing their creative business. This is really fascinating, right? So ultimately, yeah, there's a bunch of these different learnings and things that we've noticed and we've seen that we're going to now share on today's workshop based off what we just see every single day. Essentially, if you have the wrong strategy in place, right? So you're using your creative skills in the wrong way, you have the wrong sorts of products and services, it may mean that you can't actually build a long-term sustainable business despite how hard you work, right? We meet people all the time who are like, they work so hard, they pour all this energy, this passion, this purpose in, and then we look at what they're offering, how they're using their creative skills in terms of their products, their services, and we look at it and go, yeah, It's the wrong design. It's the wrong types of offerings. So it doesn't matter how hard you work or how hard you market or work on yourself and all those things. It's like, it's not going to work, right? So building a sustainable long-term business, you've got to make sure you have the right sorts of offerings, right? We talk to people all the time who have amazing creative skills and abilities, and we're just like, wow, this is amazing. And they're like, yes, but it's not working, and nobody seems to want to pay me, and these things here. And once again, it's because they don't have those offerings really offered clearly, and also they're often putting the energy in the wrong places. Yes, marketing is a part of it, right? And we're going to be talking about some of the marketing pieces today as well, but the big part we're really getting clear on is having your offerings, aka your products, your services, right? Using your creative skills in a way that people actually find value. Now, as I go through this workshop, I'm going to be getting Molly and Ryan to share some bits and pieces along the way from their experiences as well, in terms of, how they've applied things or the different learnings they've had from these areas as well. The first thing that we are going to dive into is identifying your ideal client, right? Identifying your ideal client. This is incredibly important, right? If you try and market to everyone, you end up marketing to no one. So some people come with that perspective of like, well, anyone can be a client. I'm willing to work with anyone, right? And that may be true, but the problem is if you take that approach, then no one will really find that your messaging will resonate with them. They'll be like, oh, they seem like they provide services for other people, even though you're like, no, I can do this for anyone. Well, we've got to get really specific, because the way you put yourself out there, who you contact, how you market yourself, how you display your website, your Instagram, well, it's going to change depending on who you are actually targeting. So this is really, really important to understand, is that identifying your ideal client or your ideal clients is absolutely essential. Now, ultimately, you need to find people that need and value what you do. Right? So, hey, they have this need, you've got these services, these offerings, and they need that as well, and they really value it. That's good. But the other part of the coin is, are they also willing to pay? Right? There will be people out there that would love to work with you, right? Would appreciate your services, see value, and like, wow, love what you do, but they may not be willing to pay. Right? And that can definitely happen. So that's something we need to make sure is part of that equation. Now, a few tips around this, those of you that are early stage, or you've been doing this for a long time and you're trying to figure this out, well, let's kind of look at a few tips around who your ideal client could be. Number one, if you're already in business, well, who were your favorite clients that you worked with in the past, right? Who noticed value? Who did you enjoy working with? Well, could we find more of those sorts of people, right? So that can be a really good way, if you have been in business for a while, is to really go, hey, like, who did I appreciate working with the most? Okay, now what we need to do is we need to really replicate them and focus on more people like them. For example, if you're like, oh, I've worked with some restaurant owners, right, doing designing their menus, you might be like, oh, I really enjoyed that experience. I'm going to find more restaurants. Okay, that might be an ideal target market for you, right? So that's one thing you can look at. Something else you can do is really look at who other people are working with. Right? Like, look at other people's testimonials, case studies, right? Start to understand, okay, what are the options here? What are other designers, creatives, illustrators doing? Right? Like, what types of clients are they working with? And then it'll start to give you those ideas as well. The other piece of this is to just be really open and understand that part of this process might just be doing a big brainstorm, right? What's possible? Like literally writing it, getting a big piece of paper and writing out, okay, who is possible? Who would, I think, potentially work with me, right? And actually brainstorming that out, even writing down the things that you're like, the people that you're like, oh, I'm not sure if they would value what I do or they'd be willing to pay for it, write it down, right? Because that might lead you towards some other ideas there as well. Really, really powerful. You can also look at your existing networks, right? So who do you know in your life? Maybe it's from a past job. Maybe if you're a parent, right, you could be thinking about, well, would other parents be an interesting target market, target audience for me? What would that look like? And of course, as I said, who actually has the funds, right? Who's willing to invest? And that's why often a lot of good clients tend to be businesses, other businesses. Not always. There's lots of opportunities within private clients as well. But we see again and again is that often people want designs, illustrations, murals are other businesses, right? And that's often because they see a return on that investment, right? If I spend money here, I'm going to get a return on that. So I can value it more highly than maybe someone who's a private individual, right? Not to say that you can't work with private individuals. We do have clients that do that as well, but these are good tips to think about as well. Ryan, would love to hear some of your thoughts, learnings, different things from this area of ideal clients and target markets as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's great advice to kind of look at the people that you have worked with, people you enjoy working with. And then I think a lot of this process, while it's important to define, it's important not to rush it too. You need to look at, who have you done effective work for in the past? Who have you had good experience with? Who does have the funds? Who do you have a natural, ability to please with your work? Who've been your happy clients? Who are those folks? And in my case, it's something that kind of appeared over time that, as Logan said, it's other businesses, it's other service providers, it's folks that aren't necessarily creative, but they need, they need creative objects, they need presentations, they need websites, they need visual identities, they need all of these elements that, that I can provide that they see the value in and they're willing to pay for, but they can't necessarily create on their own. So really finding that niche of people that both need, the services that you can provide and value it is really where kind of you find your footing. And once you're there, I've been somebody in the past that probably relied too heavily on referrals. I've got, oh, well, these people are happy. They're going to tell all their friends and they're just going to have a big party, invite everybody and tell them how great I am. And I'm never going to have to email anybody and it's all going to be perfect. But that's not reality. That's not how it works out. So, identifying those people, it's been said that the most effective marketing is the right message delivered to the right person at the right time. And so, if that's how complicated it can be, that it's at least on us to figure out who those right people are and to try and narrow that audience down. And that's something, again, I think that can take time and you can experiment with over time. You can even have, different audiences that have different messages and see what works, see who responds, and, see how you like working with those folks when they do respond.
I love it. I love what you said, Ryan, around like the experimentation phase, right? Like that's such an important thing. I think, often in the space here, we see this with our clients too, it's like, okay, like what's the perfect dream ideal client or what's the perfect target market? I'm going to figure that out and then I'm done, right? It's like, well, the figuring out process is working with people, is talking to people, is going through those phases. And you may find after focusing on one area, target market for a couple of months, you might be like, you know what, like this isn't actually it, but that's okay. I've ruled that one out. And what I've learned there in targeting them, I can actually apply to something else much quicker as well. So absolutely love that. So powerful. We're going to keep rolling along. One thing I am going to do is pop our Instagram links. Lisa from my team is going to pop in our Flammo Instagram. Ryan and Molly are going to pop theirs in the chat as well. Please, would love to make sure that we're connected with everyone here. So definitely go connect with Molly, connect with Ryan, connect with myself and the Flammable team as well. I think a few of us are already connected, which is great, but just wanted to make sure that we are all connected there as well. And then what we are going to do is would love everyone here who's here with us live, you can pop it yours in the chat as well. Make sure you do grab the URL like we did, not just the @ tag. Pop it in the chat. This is a great chance to build community and connection with other people, right? So go to go get Instagram, go get its URL. Like you'll need to go to a web browser and then pop it in the chat and then go through and click other people's links. Right, get connected. This is a great way. Let's build up your following a little bit. Let's get support of other creative people in your community. And also this all helps with that good old algorithm as well. So I love that. Everyone's getting the idea. Make sure you're getting your link and then go through and connect with some other people, see what other people are up to as well. Absolutely love that. Okay, we're going to talk about the offerings next, right? So we talked about the ideal clients, the dream clients. Well, we're really here to talk about offerings. Now, these things are kind of connected, right? Like, okay, who are you going to work with? Great. Well, what are you going to do for those people? This is the offerings, the services, the products, right? Now, there's several things I'll mention here. One of them is that we see again and again that many creative people try and do too much, right? They're like, hey, once again, kind of like the dream clients. I can do this for anyone. Right? I can do so many things. And that may be once again true, right? Like creative people, you can figure things out, you can do things. I love that. What we need to do though is get really defined around the types of offerings you're mainly focusing on, types of offerings that you're mainly offering, right? The things that you're going to put on your website, the things that you can do, your services. Hey, when I use the word offerings, I'm really talking about services or products, the things that you offer. Okay, what we see is that generally having 3 to 5 offerings makes the most sense. Not 10, not one. Right? We go for one. One is like, well, you're going to get bored. Right? You hear this online. People say, oh, focus on one thing. Yeah. For creatives, they get bored of that. Right? If you're like, okay, well, I'm a graphic designer, I'm just going to do logos. That in some ways could make sense, but you'll get bored. You'll get bored. Maybe you do it for a few months and be like, oh, but I want to do all these other things. So we really notice 3 to 5 is a good amount, not 10, not one, right? So the other end, 10. Well, you're going to end up scattered. You're going to end up overwhelmed. And once again, people are going to be like, oh, I'm looking for this thing. This person seems to be jack of all trades that does everything, right? Often people want to see more specialization. So a big thing that we see here is that you want to make sure the core of your offerings, the majority of your offerings, you're charging at least $300 for. Now, hear what I said there? At least, right? 300 minimum. I'm not saying 300. I'm saying at least 300. Can you charge $1,000? Fantastic. Can you charge $5,000? Great. 2,500, 10,000, right? These higher numbers are going to help you to build a long-term sustainable business, right? This is absolutely essential. We've just seen this again and again and again. So if you're wanting to maybe leave your day job like Molly did, or you're wanting to really expand your revenue, triple your revenue, those things there, well, you're going to need to focus on those higher ticket offerings, right? The things that are more valuable. We call them valuable offers. That's the name of what we call this at Flammable. Some people use the word kind of high ticket, but I like valuable offer, anything $300 plus. Now, we do have clients that do things for under $300, right? Passive income-ish type streams and things like licensing or maybe stickers or prints. Yeah, we have clients that do that. But what I'm saying is that it's not those things that are creating the growth, right? They tend to be a smaller portion of their energy and a smaller portion of their income. And that's mainly because things that are under $300 are going to be really, really competitive. Right? A lot of people are out there doing it. And also, you're going to find that it's a real numbers game, right? If you're selling something for even $50, if you want to make $10,000 in a month so that you can have a sustainable long-term business, you need to sell a lot of items, right? I'm not going to do the maths right now, but a lot, right? 50, we take 10,000 divided by 50. If anyone wants to do the maths of that and pop it in the chat, like it's a lot. So a really important piece is to have these higher ticket offerings. Passive income, I'm not going to run a whole workshop around that right now, but we just need to be very careful because often passive income is these lower ticket options, and often it's not particularly passive. It can take a lot of work as well. Effectively, what we're seeing is that the print-on-demand offerings, as the day is basically over for print-on-demand. Really competitive, really low ticket, very challenging area. Right. So instead, let's get you focusing on these higher ticket offerings. Really, really important. Now, obviously, yes, that takes time to figure out what they are. I for sure get that. But this is a big piece. As you grow your business, you'll also be wanting to maybe expand your offerings. So yes, if you've been running your business for a few years now and it's going well, you could have more than those, even 5 offerings. But even then, keeping it tight, keeping smart around this strategy, really, really important as well. You need to make sure that your business has what we call bread and butter offerings, right? Bread and butter offerings are things that you can offer again and again and again to many people. You can charge good rates, you can increase your rates, people value it, right? Really, really important as well. Molly, would love to hear some of your thoughts around, your experiences around, diversifying offerings and revenue streams.
Yeah, thank you, Logan. I think that this is first of all, such a valuable topic. It's something that even, being almost a year into my business, it's something I continue to revisit on a regular basis. I'd say every three months or so. And when I first thought about diversifying my offerings, I was under the impression that it was about trying new things and doing new things and kind of spreading out. But what I've learned, working with Logan and his team and really digging into my business is that it's about digging in to those offerings that you currently have defined. So, specifically if we're talking about MVP or bread and butter, it's trying to find the layers within those things that you're already doing that can be offered as services. So you're not spreading out, but you're really, really kind of digging in there. So there's a few different lenses that you can look at your offerings through. And it's basically just trying to figure out like how can I take these things that I'm already doing, already exist, and like look at them through a different lens or in a different space. So one of the first things you can look at is like, what if I transferred my services to an online space if they're not already there? So what can I do virtually? Like, am I going to provide content on my website, blog, resources, downloads, those types of things? There's all sorts of things, obviously, that you can do online or in that space, but it's a good place to start. And then another layer of execution potentially is education, which is it's very common for creatives, whether you're teaching other creatives or other people who want to be creatives or doing client education. You could create a course, you could create a vlog, there's all sorts of ways that you could sort of extend what you're already offering to that space as well. And then another aspect that I like to look at is locality and focusing on community. I've learned in my business that human relationships have really fueled everything that I do. Um, I get most of my business through referrals, through word of mouth, through developing really solid relationships with people locally. Especially, I do work with people all over the United States, but a lot of my local relationships just tend to flourish a little bit more quickly. So looking at my offerings through that lens, thoughts that come to mind are like, can I do live events? Can I do community art projects? Can I do live art if that applies to what I do? At some sort of illustration event, or a lot of people will do like the sort of live illustration during like the business, like big business meetings and events like that. I think that's become very popular. And then some other spaces that I tend to look at when I'm, kind of viewing my services from this lens are like, could I offer toolkits or guides? Like, I do a lot of brand development work, so I'm already, preparing a guidelines for my clients when I deliver those types of things. How robust can that be? Can that be its own deliverable? Which is it's a really valuable tool. And then there's licensing and groups, whether you want to do local group events, those types of things. I think kind of just going through all of the offerings in that way and starting to just like dig in a little bit deeper. That's allowed me to kind of create a little bit more of a tiered offering system. So, having my bread and butter, but then maybe I have add-ons that can create a more premium offering for some of my clients. Thinking about the other things that I'm already doing behind the scenes, but making them a real deliverable. And then at the end of the day, I'm a very passion-driven person. So I typically am constantly asking myself, am I having fun? Is this like, am I enjoying this? Is this still something I'm interested in? And I kind of use that question as a way to fuel the direction of this exploration. So it's like, here's my offerings. I'm having a good time. Business is going well, but like, is there something I'm curious about or something that I'm like, what if we did that? In a way that's safe and that's applicable to what I'm doing and the pain points of my clients. I think it's an important thing to always keep in mind.
Oh, I love that. Like, yeah, what is it that I want to do? What are the things I enjoy doing? Right. The fun piece. Oh, I love that. I think it's so powerful. Like, and that's part of what we're doing here, right? Like people, I'm sure pretty much everyone here is here because you're like, I want to either leave a day job and grow my creative business, grow it full time, or I'm already in business, but I want it to be more sustainable. I want to create more revenue. I want to do this in a sustainable way. Great. But also you want to do what you love, right? That is a huge driver. Literally everyone we work with, the creative outlet, right? Having a creative outlet, being able to work with clients that you're excited to work with, excited sorts of projects you're excited to work on, right? Are you having fun, right? This is such an important part of it as well. Look, there's plenty of very unhappy people out there in the world who own businesses, even creative businesses, that don't actually enjoy what they do. So we've got to make sure that there's that alignment as well in terms of the joy of the work. Right. And it's not always going to be perfect, especially early on, and especially as you're growing that revenue. But what the aim here is to have as many of those dream clients doing those dream projects. Right. Absolutely love that. Thank you, Molly. I love that. So good. Let's talk about marketing next. So ultimately, like connecting with the right audience to find clients, i.e. marketing, is one of the biggest things that people struggle with the most. Like one of the biggest issues in businesses in general, but definitely creative businesses, is that not enough of the right people know that you exist. Right? Not enough of the right people know that you exist. So, yes, once we've figured out, okay, who are the ideal clients, and then, okay, the offerings, what are the offerings I want to focus on, now we've got to get them out there, right? Because it's all very well to say, hey, I can do this. I can design murals, right? Or I can design these logos, or I can do these illustrations. Okay, that's great. But like, who's going to know? So you've got to put that word out there. You know, I like to call marketing connecting and sharing, because that's what it's really about, is just connecting and sharing. So important. So a bunch of things here around this. One of them is that you need to get really clear around your offering, and then you need to make sure your audience are aware of what you're doing. Right? So does your website say what you're doing? Does it clearly say what your offerings are? Or does it just say, hey, I'm this creative person and here's a bunch of examples of past work? Well, that's a start. It's good. But what is the thing that you actually offer? What is the service that you actually offer? Really, really important. You don't need to put your pricing on there, but what are the services? Like, how can someone hire you and what are they going to hire you for? Really, really important. That clarity, making sure your audience is clear of that, so important. And then, as I mentioned, yes, put examples of the work out there that you want to attract. So if you're like, oh, I'm a graphic designer, but I'm more moving into illustrative type work, but I don't really like doing logos, but I, am willing to do them. Well, if you keep putting more logos up on your Instagram and your website, you're going to keep attracting logo work. And that may be okay, but you've got to be aware what you want to attract, the type of work. That is the thing that you need to put out there. Right. So maybe that looks like you doing mock-ups of your work, right? Maybe it looks like you actually going, you know what, like I'm going to do some personal projects, right? I'm going to put this out there, even old projects you've done, to showcase how your skills and abilities work in this medium or as this offering here. Another part of building this marketing part is actually to build trust with your audience, right? People work with people they know, like, and trust, especially when so much is done online. Yes, good to connect with people in person where you can, your warm networks, your networks, the people around you, the referrals, things like that. That's an amazingly powerful area because there's already trust associated with that. But when you're connecting with people, cold email, Instagram, partnerships, other strategies, well, the truth is that part of the reason that they will work with you is that they trust you. Part of the reason that they won't work with you is because they don't trust you, right? So building trust is incredibly important. That's why having things like a website, like even a LinkedIn page, and just keeping it updated, even if you're not using it as an active platform. That's why posting on Instagram, these things build trust to show that you're a real person, you're a real creative business owner as well. Building trust is extremely important. Have you got an about page? People actually don't want to work with faceless organizations, particularly at this level. They actually want to work with an individual. They want to work with a person. So making sure that you're bringing in the human element, make sure you're getting on your Instagram. Right now, this is kind of the scary part for many people, is showing up as you. I'm not saying you need to be out there dancing on TikTok, but do you have a picture of your face on your website, on your Instagram somewhere? Are you occasionally sharing something of you, right? People want to work with people. Right? People want to see that human element as well. Really, really important. And this stuff becomes even more important with things like AI as well, right? Is that bringing that personal element that they're working with an individual, a human here, and they get to see who that is. So I know it can be scary putting yourself out there. Absolutely. It's something we work with our clients on a lot, but even can be things like, over the shoulder shots or putting your hand in your designs, right? How can you bring in the fact that there is a person, there is a human behind this business, right? And also, yes, getting you showing up, as I said, that about page, getting you show up on your Instagram occasionally, really, really powerful. Know, like, and trust, right? People are going to trust you if they can see who you are. Really, really important. Ryan, would love to hear some of your thoughts and experiences around these different pieces as well.
Yeah, and I think you touched on a lot of great things there, just about this idea of marketing as building connections to help other people solve their problems. And it's easy. I feel like it's easier even for creatives. I don't know if we're naturally cynical or we just hate sales or what it is, but to think of being salesy as this awful thing that you're just putting this terrible burden on people to ask them to, maybe give you some money to do something great for them. But so really the mindset shift is really important. You have to think of it in terms of, really what I want to do is I want to offer you something valuable that you need. and help solve your problems in exchange for funds and for a relationship. Hopefully these are not, sometimes you have one-off clients, but in the most cases, you solve problems for them once, they're going to want you to solve problems for them, the third time, the 10th time. You're building, long-term connections with these folks. And it takes, kind of a variety of techniques to do that. Obviously, it's great to have referrals, and I welcome those, and those are wonderful. And I'm glad that my clients are happy. They recommend me to people, and that's always going to be a source of work, and I'm thankful for that. But kind of growing over the level of building more revenue and having a sustainable business means that you have to kind of go beyond what happens naturally. You have to kind of force nature's hand a little bit. You've got to do the outreach. You've got to do the networking opportunities. You got to build connections with people, and again, finding out the best people to target, and then finding out, figuring out messaging that really, resonates with them. And Logan talked about trust. I think that's a huge part of it. And I think it's important. And something else, as creatives that maybe we're not always really stereotypically as good at is the numbers, showing, hey, I did this ad campaign for so and so, and then they saw 3x return on investment. Again, these are salesy things to say, but if that's what's happening, it was your creative that helped to make that happen. That's something that you should tell other people about. Maybe they'll hopefully see those same sort of results whenever you work for them. So having this kind of proof in the pudding and using numbers, it's kind of a secret weapon for creatives, and it can really be a separation point. Those that aren't afraid to dig a little bit and say, well, I worked on this website and this business, their revenue increased X amount over the last 4 or 5 years while this was in place, or I did their visual identity and now they're more recognizable. They had X amount of impressions in 2025 of people that saw those things. So don't be afraid to kind of dig in and look for the proof of the great work that you've done and how it's impacted other people's businesses. And again, that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to identify people that you can help. So don't look at outreach as like, oh gosh, I'm begging for money. No, what you're really doing is you're looking to build connections with people that you can help with valuable services that you provide. So you're really doing them a service by sending them that cold email, if they're open to it. So I think mindset is super important when you get into outreach and to trying to grow revenue and build more of a bigger client base.
I love it. And I think, there's so many things that Ryan's hit on here that are so important. I love what you said right at the start there, Ryan, is like, yeah, like for many creatives, the sales, the marketing stuff, it isn't natural, right? There's a focus on the creative part, and you're going, have to do these other pieces here. We actually, we talk to a lot of different people. Some people we end up working with, some people we don't. And something that we occasionally see, I just wanted to touch on, because Ryan talked a lot about this, is people that have built a business, maybe they've been running it for a few years, and they've basically built a business that relies on repeat clientele and referrals. Now, don't get me wrong, as Ryan said, these are powerful sessions. We love it when you can have repeat clients. These are absolutely powerful things to have. Referrals as well, right? For sure. What we notice again and again is that it's really hard to grow a business and keep it sustainable long term, right? We've seen again and again, people go, I've relied on these things for a number of years, and now my business is sinking, right? My revenue's dropped. I lost a major client, those things there. And we're going, oh, what are you doing to market yourself? And they're like, referrals and repeat clients. We're like, okay, well, that's kind of the problem here, right? And they're like, I don't even know how to market myself because they've relied on those things, because that's a safe space to operate in, right? Is getting out of that comfort zone and going, you know what, like I want to grow. I'm going to have to learn to do these harder marketing things. Yes, things like the cold outreach. Yes, things like digging into your Instagram. Yes, things like maybe connecting with other creatives and building partnerships. Right? There's a lot that you can do. But once again, we do see this happening. And we kind of look at it and go like, yeah, to build a long-term sustainable business and to grow a business, you're going to have to get out of that comfort zone and do these things here as well. So absolutely love that. The next thing I want to talk about here is really around niching down, right? So we kind of hear this idea, this concept of like niching down, really focusing in. We've talked a bit about it today. Kind of the analogy I want to give you all is that like we don't go to a restaurant and just say like, hey, what have you got on offer? And they just come over to you and say, we can do anything. Absolutely anything. Yeah, and you're like, that's great. Do you have a menu? Right? Like we want a menu. When we sit down in a restaurant, we want a menu so that we can go through and we can choose. right? So it's actually important rather than, like I said earlier, trying to be everything to everyone, offer everything to everyone. We need to get more specific. Now, what often happens early on in people's journey is that they keep their niche quite wide. Right, so we're talking about types of clients. You might be like, yeah, okay, I'm going to work with, using the restaurants theme, I'm going to work with restaurants, right? They're my ideal target markets. Okay, you might be, let's say you're a muralist and you go, that's one of my ideal target markets. Fantastic. What's going to actually happen over time is you're going to niche down deeper and deeper. So you might be like, okay, I work with vegan restaurants, right? You become known more and more for a specialty as well. Yes, you probably want to have some diversification within there, but niching down over time is really, really important as well, right? So often what we see is that people stay quite wide and then they narrow things in. The further in they get, the deeper in they get as well. And obviously, as I said, good to have several niches. I think if you were a muralist just doing murals for vegan restaurants, might get a little narrow at a point. You might be like, well, I do that, but I also do this thing over here, another offering or another type of target market, right? So that could be another way to look at this as well. And once again, a big reminder here, $300 plus, $300 plus. I need to say that again and again, $300 plus, not $300 minimum, right? Those higher level, higher ticket offerings. That's where the growth is. That's where the opportunities are as well. Molly, would love to hear some more of your thoughts around this area of niching down and getting more focused as well.
Of course. Yeah. I feel like everything you're saying, Logan, is like my story specifically. Like, I feel like I totally relate to everything you just said. And something that I wanted to share with the group today is that, when I started working for myself, I was kind of in that space where I was like, I was saying yes to everything, like everything. I was like, well, I can do a lot of things. Like, I feel like maybe some folks can relate here in the creative industry. Like, I, became a creative in a lot of different roles that really prized being able to wear all the hats and being able to do everything, being a generalist in that way. I think that I don't know if it's culturally or just in this industry specifically, but I think that it's like something that I took pride in at one point, being able to do it all. So, when I started working for myself, I was like, well, I was, had a little bit of scarcity mindset, was like, okay, I'll do anything basically, like within the creative space. But like, I quickly learned that that was not sustainable. That spiraled into a season of chaos and busyness, not business, busyness. And I was just, kind of getting stressed out, burnt out, and I lost my confidence too. I was like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? And so thankfully, to circle back to some of the things that Ryan mentioned around numbers and really, really touching base with my own numbers, thankfully, I had been tracking all sorts of things since I started working for myself, my sales, my revenue, my marketing, my outreach. And so I decided to take a pause and just look at my numbers. And in looking at them, I realized that I was saying yes to all of these really low dollar projects. They were keeping me super busy. And so I felt like I was on a path to success. But really, what was happening is I was just like not feeling fulfilled and feeling like I was just busy and stressed. And so what I decided to do is like make some rules for myself moving forward, like really, really focusing on the high ticket items, like Logan mentioned. I kind of looked through all of my clients and, decided like moving forward, these are the types of clients I want to work with, and these are the type that I'll say no thank you to. So I learned to say no to those smaller projects and really made space, and saying no to all of those projects to say yes to the ones that really mattered, that felt meaningful and impactful. I think something I've learned about myself is that I dig in really deep no matter what it is. I have two speeds. So if I'm going to dig in really deep to a, $200 project, and I'm also going to dig in really deep to a $10,000 project, like I'm doing a lot of the same work and not getting the return. So learning how to say no to the things that aren't serving those business goals is really, really helpful for me. Yeah, I think this story is like not from that long ago either. So remembering to try, test, fail, repeat again and again and again. Like I said, I just revisited this process again within the last couple of weeks, to be honest. So just making sure that you're constantly asking yourself, like, is this working? And then the next thing is just making sure that your menu, your offerings are super clear. You don't want to leave people guessing in terms of, having an opportunity to work with you. You want to be really clear about like what those things that you say yes to are. Um, and then something else, I'll come back to passion because I come back to it all the time is, like what gets you excited? What gets you out of bed in the morning? What are you thrilled about? Like, what are you able to bring to the table that nobody else is able to bring to the table when it comes to your creative offering? I think it's a super important thing to remember because whatever lights you up is going to light your clients up. And there's a dual purpose there. Like, we always want to be mindful of the problems we're solving for our clients. But I think that if we're also not serving our own passion, it's not going to work either. So there you have it.
I love it. I think, one of the things that I've loved about today's workshop is that like Molly and Ryan, like they're actively in this, right? Like the stuff we're talking about, this is their experiences. I love that Molly was just saying, like, there's something here I've just been working on over the last few weeks. Right. So you're hearing really the real things, because I can sit here and share about this strategy and that strategy and what you need to do, $300 plus, but I actually hear it from them as well and see that they've really applied these approaches and these strategies and have grown their businesses significantly as a result as well. So absolutely love that. So good. We are still doing the $100 giveaway. Don't worry, everyone. I have not forgotten. I know everyone in the chat has not forgotten about this, so don't you worry. And we'll do that towards the end. Now, the thing is that obviously having more clarity and what we've covered today is great, right? Learning more strategies, tips, ideas, absolutely. But the truth is that people need to dig a lot deeper, right? You also need to figure out those other business elements like the sales, the marketing, and get beyond the theory to actually actioning these things as well. Today's workshop has really just touched the tip of the iceberg of what's required to build a long-term sustainable business. So as part of this workshop, we are going to be giving away free calls to our team. So these are free coaching calls with our team. We have Nadine, Alyssa, and also Paul, who those calls will be with. There will be one-on-one calls. I'm going to drop a link. It will be a Calendly link that will allow you to literally go in and find a time in the next 2 weeks to get on a freebie call with them. Couple of caveats with this. The first caveat here that I will share is that we want you to be someone who is wanting to take action, right? You're like, I want to leave my day job soon, or I want to grow my business, or I want to triple my revenue. I want to grow my business to this point, right? Fantastic. Okay, great. This is a good call for you, right? They'll really be able to help you to digest what you've learned today and also point you in the right direction from here as well. The second thing is that we want you to be open to sharing ideas. Be willing to share where you're at, even getting a bit vulnerable, like sharing the challenges that you're experiencing, the dreams that you have, right? Really being open and sharing those on that calls. They have a ton of stuff they'll be able to share from their vast experiences, but you need to be coachable, right? We want you to have a growth mindset if you're going to jump on one of these free calls. Third thing, that you commit to it, right? If you book a call today, turn up, be there on time, allow extra time, be at a table, don't be in the car or out for a walk with your phone, they'll get dizzy, right? Really focusing in, really, really important. There's a ton of value in those calls. So we want to make sure that we don't muck them around. We've only got limited spots for that as well. We also will be in touch with you for some messages afterwards before you have that call to fill in a quick form so that they can prep for that call as well. So I'm going to grab that link for you and then we're going to drop that in the chat. Try and book one in as soon as possible. I know those of you in the US, it is Thanksgiving week. There's a couple of times this week, otherwise mainly next week. See if you can get a time in for next week, otherwise the week after. We don't have lots of spots, so grab that link now. And just a reminder, this is one call. This is not a call with Paul and Nadine and Alyssa, right? Like, so this is just a one-off freebie call for you to digest what you've learned today as well. So make sure you click that link. I know there's lots happening in the chat as well, so I will repost it in a moment too. But I would love absolutely everyone who's here with us live to click that link and to book in one of those calls. You're going to find it a really good way to get beyond just the notes that you've got today, to actually dig in a bit more, share those dreams, share those challenges, get some pointers and some tips for where to go from here as well. If you are interested in learning more about our coaching and how we can help beyond that, absolutely mention that to them, mention it to Paul, Alyssa, and Nadine. Hey, I want to learn more, and they'll be able to take you through the next steps of what that looks like as well. See if you're a good fit for our coaching program too. So I've popped that in the chat. I will pop it in there again just because there's lots happening in the chat today. We are going to dive into Q&A next. We did have some questions that were sent in beforehand, so I do want to make sure we address them first. So Alyssa, we're actually going to get this first one. We're going to get you to answer and jump in here on this first one. We've talked about this a little bit, and I know Molly dove into this a bit too, but we want to get a bit more specific. So The question that came up is, what are those typical types of higher ticket offerings, right? Valuable offerings, $300 plus. Like, what are we seeing? What types of things do we generally see when we work with people? Would love you to dive into that one there, Alyssa.
Great, thank you. Yes, and there's so many options for those high ticket offerings. So lots of opportunities, and I encourage you to keep an open mind. All right. So, even if you don't have any experience in these yet, it's definitely something to still consider because your skills are transferable. Okay. So, what we see a lot of as far as, really popular high ticket offerings right now with creatives is murals, illustrative branding, lots of branding. So, illustrative branding, logos and branding, editorial design, packaging. Think about when you go to the grocery store, when you go to Target, all of those products have packaging that you maybe need an illustrator for, right? So, graphic design of all sorts, absolutely. Spot illustration of all sorts for social media, websites, other areas of advertising materials, right? Even event illustration, like Molly mentioned, wedding, corporate events or parties. So, based on a lot of what I just described, often these high ticket offerings are, client work and like very service based. Okay. So even if you've never done any of these areas I just mentioned before, remember that your skills are transferable and it's possible for you to expand your skill set and, explore some other offerings in order to grow and be able to charge more. So, not saying that you can't do print on demand. If that's something that you want to still pursue as one of your offerings, then print on demand licensing or maybe wholesale as some of those lower ticket offerings. Not saying you can't do it. It's just that we have seen over and over again that that's not the primary or only thing that you should be pursuing long term in order to build that sustainable business. Okay. So I hope that answers that question and gives you some ideas and inspires you to think a little more deeply about some of your options.
Thank you so much, Alyssa. That's absolutely fantastic. I was just having a look through the chat there as well, and there's so many good things happening in the chat. I love all the conversations in there too. This is so, so good. I'm going to keep working through these questions. We've got a couple more that I do want to have answered as well. We got a question which was, how long does it take to build a sustainable business? How long does it take to build a sustainable business? So kind of like I mentioned earlier, is we work with a lot of people, a lot of different stages, and also we see the trends of what happens. Generally, as a rule of thumb, it's going to take 6 to 18 months for you to build a long-term sustainable business that would replace day job income. Right, 6 to 18 months. These are people that we're working with, we're digging in with, we're getting them the support, we're helping them a lot. We've seen people do it quicker, right? Molly just said before, right? She left her day job, I think two months in to the program, Molly. So yeah, we see people doing sometimes 2, 3, 4 months, right? But the key here is that to build a long-term sustainable business, the time starts from when you start getting more focused. Like if you have a day job, if anyone here has a day job right now, like rather than quitting the day job and then trying to build the business, the best time to really grow and work on the business is next to the day job. We know time is limited, right? But the key here is that it's going to take 6 to 18 months. So if you decide, hey, I'm just going to kick my day job away, I'm going to give it up, and then I'm going to start my business, it may take you 6 to 18 months to build in substantial revenue. Now, we see people bringing in revenue much quicker. I'm talking about revenue that would replace their day job, right? It can take longer there as well. But the longer you put that off from actually just starting the process, the longer it will take. I know there's a big wide range in there. I just want to give people a bit of an idea of what we tend to see when we work with people. Of course, we work with people at lots of different levels as well. The great thing is you can grow revenue. Often people actually get started focusing on their business and selling their services too late. Right? They're like, oh, first of all, I need to upgrade these skills and I need to work on my portfolio and I need to do all these things there before I'm ready. Right. And the truth is that many people we speak to, they're already ready. Their skills are good enough to actually be selling them. And they're going to learn more and grow more through the act of putting themselves out there, actually working with real clients as well. So it's a really, really important topic. The next question that we got here was really around how do I figure out what I have to offer? Right. We've kind of talked around the fringes of this quite a bit, but how do you figure out what you have to actually offer? So we've talked about this a lot. Like, what are you excited about? Like, what are you excited about creating? Right? That's part of it. Do a big brainstorm and go, okay, like, what am I excited about offering? I've got all these creative skills and expertise. Like, what are the offerings I would be excited about? Right? And then we've got to go through and go, okay, well, what does the world need? Right? Just like Ryan talked about, like, what are the needs out there? What are the problems out there? Like, which of these things here solve that? And you might be like, okay, well, I love to do this thing here. I love this piece here of drawing, but the problem is there's not really people that need that or people that are willing to pay for that. Right? So we've really got to start to think about, where do these things intersect of what does the world need and what is the world willing to pay for? What are people willing to pay for? What am I excited and passionate about? And of course, yeah, where's my skill set? The skill set one's kind of interesting because I think people often undervalue their own skill set. Right? You're like, well, I'm early stage. Maybe you have a background of experience, but you're like, I haven't done this for myself. I haven't offered these skills and abilities for myself. So therefore, I'm not ready to sell, or I'm going to sell things for free, as in just give things away, or I'm going to undercharge. Well, actually, your creative skills and abilities might already be really high, but yes, you're early at the business stuff. So you can still be focusing on those things. It's a really interesting area. We are going to be doing that $100 giveaway very soon as well. I know everyone has not forgotten that. Just as we start to do that giveaway, a reminder again, would love everyone here to make sure you've booked in that call if you want that call. As long as you're happy with those caveats, I'd love to get that booked in. I've seen a bunch of people book them in already. Remember, you just get one. I'll pop that link in the chat because I know the chat keeps moving. Please pop that in. Do it now because we do have those spots filling up, but I see there's a few spots still left there as well. We're going to do the giveaway. Let's have a look. Amazing. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Celeste. So apologies if I get your pronunciation here. Kerway from Atlanta, I think it is. So I'm just popping your name in the chat. If you can please send us a message, you can DM us on Instagram, or you can send us an email at Flammable Entrepreneur. Send us an email and we'll send you that $100 credit across. We appreciate you from getting really dug in there. There it is in the chat as well. If you're wondering who that was, so good. Loved all the interaction. It was a very interactive chat today as well. I would love to do takeaways now, right? So takeaways is really going, hey, what did you learn today? What was interesting? What was helpful? I want everyone here to pop one takeaway, or if you want to put several, in the chat, because this is going to help everyone to really condense the different learnings. We've gone through a ton of stuff. I know we've been like, boop, 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 right? Like, I know people have frantically been taking notes. I've seen, I love that, right? So let's make sure, pop in the chat, what have you learned? What was interesting? What was a takeaway? Right? What was helpful? Pop that into the chat. I know people are just starting to add some things in there as well. Catherine shared there, I missed the beginning, hope to get a replay. Yes, we will send a replay. If you've signed up for it, we'll send you the replay so you can always watch the start. Awesome. Stephanie sharing, try, test, fail, repeat. Yes, absolutely. I love that. Shane, find projects $300 plus. Nice. Absolutely love that. 300 minimum. I'm glad everyone has heard that minimum plus fees, because sometimes people are like, oh, here's what I could do for $300. And we're like, no, at least 300. What could you do for 1,000? What could you do for 2,000? Right? Stretching that ability, those ideas. I love that. Amazing. Lots of good things in the chat. Saying no to the wrong jobs was huge for me. It's huge. We actually noticed that is a big piece. Often people early on, there's a lot of yeses, right? And that can be a good thing too. A lot of yeses, you're learning, you're growing. There's a point where it turns into a lot of no's. Right? Because you've got to turn things down to leave opportunities for the things you want to do. Molly talked a lot about that as well. It's such an important part of it. Becca sharing, putting your face out there. Absolutely. I find it reassuring that other people are seeing design services are very still much in demand. Absolutely. These are all growing industries, right? Absolutely. Fear and scarcity mindset and worries about all sorts of things, they can come up, but are they true? Growth opportunities, they are there. Absolutely. All these areas we've talked about, the areas that Alyssa shared as well, these are areas that are growing in opportunity. Absolutely. Figure out what the world needs so you can offer, making sure people see you are human. Love that, Jill. Fantastic one there as well. Lots of other good things in the chat there. I am going to be wrapping things up Really appreciate everyone diving in. Make sure you have got that call booked in with one of the team, Nadine, Alyssa, or Paul. It will automatically go to one of them. We will send you a message out if you have booked in a call in the next couple of days to send you a form. We would love you to do the pre-call form because it's going to help the team to prep there as well. Super excited to hear how they go as well. And as I said, if you do want to learn more about coaching, you can even mention on that call, hey, I'd love to learn more about what that looks like too. So super excited about those free calls. We're going to wrap things up there. Molly, I appreciate you. It's been fun today, hasn't it? It's been
so fun.
And Ryan, absolutely loved diving into things today as well. It's been great. Amazing.
Oh, thank you, guys.
Awesome. Take care, everyone. Alyssa and I will stick around in the chat for a few more minutes, but we'll say goodbye to everyone else. Awesome. Take care, all. Ciao.
Thank you.
All right, that was super awesome. Just wanted to jump back in here because if you watch the recording, you've been here on YouTube, you've listened through it all, fantastic. This free call offer is for you as well. It'll just be open for the next day or two or until we run out of spots. So please make sure you go back to the email where you found this link and go and book one in. Get one in maybe for next week. We've even got some times this week, next week, or the week after. Make sure you get that booked in and then keep an eye out for that email because we will send you through that link so that you can get that pre-call form booked in as well. Looking forward to hearing how those calls go, but love you to get on that free call as well if you're someone that's, yes, wanting to grow, excited about next steps, but also, yeah, willing to be open, vulnerable, and also, make the time for that call. Awesome. Enjoy.